The purpose of BRICS is not to serve as a means for China to achieve its aspiration of it will not be a straightforward task for China to execute its intentions. China having a platform like BRICS and not aggressively pushing its own agenda, that's never going to happen. With Australia and the recent Japan-NATO partnership are clear indications of this strategy. As India continues to develop robust relations with Western countries, China becomes increasingly concerned about perception of itself as the central power or core of the BRICS, leading it to believe that the group's future direction should be dictated by the China aims to expand the BRICS grouping, arguing that limiting it to 5 members significantly diminishes its global influence. The 15th BRICS summit is scheduled to take place in South Africa next month, where a unanimous decision on whether to admit new members will be made. Several countries including Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Iran and even Pakistan have expressed their interest in joining BRICS. However, both India and Brazil are currently opposed to the expansion of BRICS. Brazil intends to prioritize addressing its deteriorating economic and political situation and would prefer to distance itself from China's endeavors. Brazil is concerned that the expansion of BRICS could potentially lead it to become a competitor to established groups like the G7, thereby challenging their influence. Brazil fears that this could have adverse effects on its economic and political relations with Western countries. The prevailing thought in Brazil is that it would be unwise to jeopardize its flexible foreign policy to accommodate China's interests, as it could endanger its own national interests. The inclusion of countries with diverse political, economic and social backgrounds may exacerbate differences and instability within the group, potentially diminishing its influence and credibility. India believes that expanding the group should be a well-considered decision, taking into account potential benefits and drawbacks. The increase in the number of members can also lead to delays and difficulties in reaching consensus on decisions. Therefore, India suggests careful consideration of the implications before proceeding with expansion. India proposes the establishment of rules that allow other countries to participate as observers without formal membership in the BRICS grouping. This will enable promoting collaboration while avoiding the challenges that may come with formal expansion. China is motivated to expand the BRICS grouping by incorporating emerging markets, as it sees this as a means to counter American influence and enhance its own political sway. The strengthening of BRICS raises concerns among Western countries, as it has the potential to become a formidable political and economic force competing with both the United States and the European Union. Consequently, the influence of Western nations may diminish. India's viewpoint on BRICS expansion is that if it is to be pursued, it should include democratic emerging economies such as Argentina and Nigeria. China is actively pursuing its grand strategy known as the Belt and Road Initiative or BRI, with the objective of creating an international system that favors China's interests. To achieve this, China seeks support from the new Development Bank of BRICS for its BRI projects. China aims to influence the direction of the BRICS grouping to align with its own goals. It views BRICS and similar groupings as opportunities to encourage more countries to participate in the BRI and establish a trade settlement system using its currency, the renminbi. Argentina's recent inclusion in the BRI can be attributed to China's efforts, as it sought to reduce its reliance on the International Monetary Fund and the United States. China intends to expand the BRICS to include like-minded countries such as Turkey, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia, using this platform to gain geographical advantages and compete with the United States. By obtaining encouragement and support from influential groups like BRICS, China aims to decrease skepticism surrounding the BRI among developing countries, thereby increasing its acceptance on the global stage. As representatives of the developing world, the BRICS countries can play a pivotal role in fostering connections with numerous other nations. China's Belt and Road Initiative has faced considerable negative publicity due to concerns about neo-colonialism and the debt trap it may create for participating countries. Additionally, developed countries have adopted counter strategies such as the Blue Dot Network and Build Back Better World, posing further challenges for China's BRI. China confronts various difficulties, including a funding crunch, COVID-related delays, and economic slowdowns in BRI participating nations. To overcome these challenges, China seeks to expand its cooperation with other countries. Given the well-performing emerging economies within BRICS, China sees this grouping as an attractive platform for engaging with the developing world. China having a platform like BRICS and not aggressively pushing its own agenda, that's never going to happen. India opposes the BRI, primarily due to concerns surrounding the flagship project, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or CPEC. The route of CPEC passes through Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and hence is a violation of India's sovereignty. In an attempt to exert pressure on India to soften its stance towards the BRI, China seeks to include new countries in the BRICS grouping. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has strengthened America's ties with Europe. Additionally, the United States is actively seeking to enhance its influence in Asia by forging close relationships with countries like Japan, Australia, India, New Zealand, and South Korea. Initiatives such as the Quad partnership with India and Japan, the AUKUS agreement with Australia, and the recent Japan-NATO partnership are clear indications of this strategy. Among the BRICS nations, India stands out as the only country experiencing significant economic growth. As India continues to develop robust relations with Western countries, China becomes increasingly concerned about its own standing in the region. America and China, as the world's two largest economies, engage in constant competition to expand their presence in global markets. Indeed, all countries endeavor to expand their global engagement, trade, and investments. However, what sets China and America apart is their tendency to leverage their economic might to exert pressure on other nations and advance their own self-interests. The potential expansion of BRICS presents China with a larger platform to challenge American influence and enhance its own global standing. Being the world's leading manufacturer, often referred to as the factory of the world, China stands to gain access to new markets for its goods and services through the inclusion of new countries in BRICS. Consequently, China's influence in the global economy will grow, and its relations with other emerging economies will strengthen, providing access to their valuable natural resources. With intensifying competition, trade disputes, and the impact of pandemics, India's rise as an economic power is increasingly seen by the West as a potential replacement for the Chinese industrial model. However, this shift is expected to take time to fully materialize. To prevent falling behind, China is proactively incorporating new countries into its supply chain. This strategic move aims to bolster its position and avoid isolation by Western countries, as well as any potential replacement by competitors like India. The harsh economic sanctions imposed in response to the Ukraine war, coupled with limited alternatives, have led to Russia becoming more reliant on China. This increased dependence on China opens up opportunities for China to use Russia as a tool for furthering its own interests within the BRICS group. However, conceptualizing plans is one thing and putting them into action is an entirely different challenge. It will not be a straightforward task for China to execute its intentions. At present, a complex dynamic is at play between Russia and China, as both nations seek to leverage each other to serve their respective self-interests. The BRICS organization was established in 2009 with the primary aim of countering the dominant influence of the US and Western countries within major global institutions. Initially comprising Brazil, Russia, India, and China, South Africa joined as a member in 2010. Collectively, the BRICS countries represent over 40% of the world's population, approximately a quarter of the global GDP, and hold around a 20% share in global trade. While these figures are approximate, they provide a general understanding of the considerable scale and influence of the BRICS nations. China's main issue lies in its perception of itself as the central power or core of the BRICS, leading it to believe that the group's future direction should be dictated by China's interests. However, it is crucial to remember that the BRICS grouping is not to serve China's individual ambitions while disregarding the interests of other members. The purpose of BRICS is not to serve as a means for China to achieve its aspiration of becoming a global superpower. Instead, the BRICS alliance is intended to foster global economic growth, promote peace and stability, reform global institutions, and address pressing challenges like climate change, poverty, and inequality. India will aim to safeguard its own interests by avoiding entanglement in China's agenda and accurately understanding the geopolitical shifts underway.